Welcome to NFL Daily, where if you try to kick a field goal, we're going to block it, and we might take it back for a score. I'm Gregg Rosenthal here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio with my friends Patrick Claybon and my little buddy Nick Shook, all the way in Cleveland. Shook, we assigned you 3 games in the early window. All 3 included some of the most exciting field goal blocks that we've seen in NFL recent history, and you covered it all.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get the title of little buddy without being able to handle some barn burners all in the same window, and I was fired up to watch it. Let's get right after it. Let's go.
Okay, yeah, we'll just get right to it, and, you know, we each assign out the games to start, but this is going to be a heavy Nick show early, because we've got all 3 of his games right off the top of the show, and we got to start in Philadelphia.
This is for the game. Hold your breath. They blocked them the last time. The ball is spotted. The kick is away. It's blocked! It's blocked! It's picked up by the Eagles. Running with it is Davis. 30, 20, 10, 5. Touchdown! Game over! Jordan Davis!
Are you kidding me?
Blocked them again!
Are you kidding me?
Blocked them again! Have you ever seen anything like this?
Do you believe in miracles?
The Rams are standing silent. They can't believe what just happened to them.
Oh, Merrill Reese and Mike Quick. I've never seen anything quite like it on WIP. That's the first time since at least 1991 that a kicker has had a field goal blocked twice in the fourth quarter of a game. I've definitely never seen a man of Jordan Davis's carriage running that fast. Next Gen Stats actually backed it up. It was the fastest a 330-pound man
there you go.
Has moved since the Next Gen charting has happened. Man, the Eagles survive, escape a great Rams first half all the way back, and they win it 33-26. We'll remember the blocked field goals, Shook, but we'll also think about this comeback in a game where it was as one-sided as possible in the first half.
Yeah, it's like, where do we start? There's so many different things we could talk about with this game. We could talk about the Eagles sleepwalking through the first half, the Rams dominating the first half in terms of yardage, 221-33. That's dominant. It looked like the Rams were going to run away with this. They get the ball. They force a strip sack deep in Eagles territory to start the third quarter. They score off that too. I'm like, they're going to run away with this. The Eagles have no life. Boos are raining down on Nick Sirianni.
Wow.
And then all it took was Jalen Hurts hitting A.J. Brown on a long completion, and then hitting Dallas Goedert on a long touchdown, and boom, the Eagles have woken up. The comeback is on. Field goals are getting blocked. Craziness ensues. Matthew Stafford kind of misses a couple of throws. It was just madness, and of course, that's the perfect way. Jordan Davis blocks that. We all just saw that if you're watching on YouTube, and he's running down the field, and I'm going, get down, Jordan, just fall down. And then I thought, wait, that's the guy who blew up the combine with his 40-yard dash a couple of years ago. He deserves to run that all the way back to the end zone, and nobody's going to catch him.
Oh, I didn't want him to go down. I wanted to start slapping his helmet like Saquon or something. That was the highlight of the year. It's certainly got to be the highlight of his career. He could have big-time moments, but he's not going to have a walk-off touchdown again.
Now you're making me regret, Greg, that he didn't tap his helmet and go full Saquon airplane as he ran into the end zone. The person who was on the receiving end after picking the Rams. Still a great moment for Jordan Davis, and a great moment for Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and this Eagles passing attack. Also, there was a huge play to Dallas Goedert late in this game where it was Hurts had this 32-yard completion, I believe, to Dallas Goedert, which was the longest completion of the game at that time. And it reminds people that the Philadelphia Eagles won't throw the ball unless they have to. And then they get in a situation where they have to throw the ball. They're good at that, too, a very successful offensive football team, despite the fact that the passing numbers were down when they didn't necessarily need to pass.
Well, they should have passed a little more effectively in the first half of this game. They had -1 yardage passing in the first half. For the 10 quarters before this second half this season, Jalen Hurts had actually only attempted 7 passes that went over 10 yards. That's outrageous. And he was 2 for 7. In the second half of this game alone, he goes 7 for 9 for 154 yards in those types of passes. Let's actually listen to A.J. Brown after the game talking about the team's aggressiveness.
Me personally, I truly believe, man, we got so many good players on this team, and at times, you can feel like we're being conservative. and I don't think it should be like that. You know, I think it should, you know, let your killers do their thing. You know, and play fast and play aggressive.
Yeah, it's interesting because he continued to talk there and said, "Look, I believe that." You know, we should throw the ball early a little more. So even it's kind of the perfect scenario, Nick, that they maybe learned from being too conservative and got the win. You don't need a loss to learn from mistakes.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it. It reminds me of the struggles that they went through late last season, the regular season. Everybody was making a big deal about A.J. Brown being upset about his lack of targets and everything else. And then they go on to win the Super Bowl, except this all happened within the span of 4 quarters. Really, I want to know what was said at halftime because they looked absolutely dreadful. And it also made me wonder, are the Eagles doing the whole like preseason don't show too much thing, or are they trying to be something different than they are? Or did Nick Sirianni just say, screw it, I'm going to go back to throwing the ball because nothing else is working? And like A.J. Brown said, we have killers out there. There are questions to be answered, but it's a great thing that they could learn this within the span of a game against a quality opponent in the Rams who were dominating them. And it just shows that when you have a team that's coming off of a Super Bowl victory that is constructed like these Eagles, they're never out of the game. Sometimes they just have to get out of their own way.
And those Hurts passing numbers that came in the second half, a majority of them came without Lane Johnson in the game. And this is in the same game where I think Kobe Turner as well as Jared Verse came off the edge. Jared Verse had a absolutely clean shot on Jalen Hurts he did not see coming. It got blasted, and that Hurts bounced back in this game in a big way in the second half.
Yeah, Hurts also took a big hit on a DB blitz. I think it was a slot corner McCulloch in that. And to continue Brown's comments, he said, personally, that's what I would like, is us being more aggressive. Obviously, we're going to run the ball. We're going to set up the run, the pass off the run, but we have a lot of players. We should just let it go. I may be reading a little too much into it, where sometimes I do feel like A.J. Brown is talking to Jalen Hurts and the coaches through the media. They said, have you brought this up to the coaches? He said, no, but now it's out there. So drama, but in the best way possible.
Have you brought this up? Yeah, I'd like us to be aggressive and try to score more points. Yeah. Like breaking news, area wide receiver wants team pass ball more.
Fair. I can't believe the Rams lost this game. And our friend Jordan was watching it. You know, she was waiting for her game to start. She's in Arizona. Well, San Francisco, watching that Cardinals game, and just saying Stafford was not taking advantage necessarily in the first half of some opportunities in the red zone. What did you see out of the Rams offensively that kind of led to this comeback happening?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that if they had just turned one of those drives that ended up in the red zone and finished in a Josh McCarty field goal, if that ends up in a touchdown, they probably win this game, just sheer fact of remaining possessions in the score that's on the board. But they didn't. They consistently just missed little things. It was a missed throw to Puka Nacua that's just outside of his arms, or it's just a lack of execution on a key down in the red zone that then you have to settle for a field goal. And it felt like that stuff kind of started to snowball as the Eagles started to claw back into this game in the second half, where they couldn't find that mojo, and they never really had that rhythm offensively over the full course of the game. It was more like explosive plays and that sort of thing. I mean, if they capitalize on those possessions in the first half, they win this game. And I'm sure they're flying back to LA thinking, we let this one slip away.
Not to mention the Eagles needed 4 fourth down conversions to win this game. And the play I'll remember more than anything was actually a 3rd and long on that last drive to A.J. Brown at the beginning of the drive. And he is just too physical for any of those Rams defensive backs, essentially just mosses them and just pushes them aside. And it reminded me a little bit of that like AFC Championship game of, Tom Brady just going to Gronk over and over on the sideline, and they just didn't have an answer for A.J. Brown on these 3rd downs. Let's listen to one more call from this game, the 4th down to Devontae Smith.
It is 4th and goal. Hurts in the gun. Hang on. Deep breath. Hurts back. Hurts looks. Hurts fires. Complete. Touchdown! They take the lead. Smith. Smitty. It's Smith. Devontae Smith. Into the end zone. They take the lead.
That was one of many clutch plays by Jalen Hurts, and this one stings. The Rams had this one circled all offseason. Sean McVay now 1-6 against the Eagles in his career, 89-52 against everyone else. Wow. They've just found a way, and I know they're all humans and they're trying their best, and I thought it might be a Cardi party, and things happen. I'm not changing my mind on how the Rams are going to look the rest of the year. But for you guys in Los Angeles with those Rams uniforms on, to do this to my daughter Ellis on her birthday, living and dying with those Rams. How dare you, Rams? Let's go to Cleveland.
2 seconds left. Snap is back. Kick is up. And the kick is right down the middle. And it's good. Wait, there's a flag. It's good. Andre Smith nailed it. Green Bay's throwing helmets. It's on Green Bay. It's on Green Bay. The Browns have beat the Green Bay Packers.
Oh, it gives me chills to listen to Andrew Siciliano and his buddy Nathan Zagura on WKRK. Yes, Charlie Smith, 55 yards away in a game that the Browns were trailing 10-3. Packers ball with under 3.5 minutes to go. They find a way to win in regulation. Nick, where do you rank this in the regular season Browns archives? Because this was an amazing regular season game for the Browns.
What did I say last week? The motto for the Browns, 2025 Cleveland Browns. How the hell did that happen?
Yes.
That just fits with that too. There was a period in the fourth quarter where I'm like, they're cooked because they don't have the offense to move the ball down the field. Then they finally get a little bit of offense via Quinshon Judkins running his tail off all the way down into, deep into Packers territory. But of course they settle for a field goal because they are the Browns and they're challenged offensively. And I'm like, all right, well, that's just where it's going to end. And then suddenly they have an interception. Grant Delpit picks off a pass that I will never understand why Jordan Love threw it against cover one on third down. And he returns it inside the 10. And in that moment, I went, oh my God, they actually have a chance to score a touchdown because they only have to gain 5 yards. Did it take them a few tries? Yes, it did. But they got in the end zone. And the craziest part is then what happened after. A blocked field goal when it looked like they were going to lose a close one again. And ability to actually get in field goal range. And then the kid who misses the PAT and misses the field goal in week 1 and they lose to the Bengals by 1, drills it from 55. I have no explanation for any of this. I'm getting texts from my friends still. Wow, I can't believe that happened. Did the Browns cheat? I can't believe they won. How did this happen? It's still not sinking in with me. So, again, the 2025 Cleveland Browns. How the hell did that happen?
I mean, they just beat who, through 2 weeks, looked like the best team in the NFL. I mean, the Cleveland Browns did that. And some of the things for the Packers that have been, concerns, I would say, through the first couple weeks showed up. Josh Jacobs, 16 carries, 30 yards. The Browns are a tough defense. Obviously, the Packers offense struggled for a lot of the day. Zach Tom, who is their best offensive lineman, got hurt immediately, played one play, re-injured his oblique. That wasn't planned, and by the sound of it, the Browns really won their battles up front. But yeah, I think we have to go back to some of those moments late in the game. You mentioned the Jordan Love pick, so that's 3rd down and 3. Like I said a little bit earlier, Packers are up 10-3. If they don't pick it up, the Packers are still punting on a day where the Browns offense just hadn't gotten anything done.
Down. Myles Garrett at right end. Elijah McGuire at left end. Chris Brooks at the back. Shotgun throwing over the middle. Intercepted! Picked off by Delpit. He's at the 20. Far sideline. Tackled by Love. Now he's still going inside the 5.
The obviously the call from Andrew there is great. Matt LaFleur saying the call on the play was bad. He takes the blame on that. And Jordan Love with a rough throw. Dontavian Wicks, as Grant Delpit's running that ball back, he's saying he was held. I'm not sure how the hold influenced the result of that play because it's a full yard and a half behind Dontavian Wicks on a play where Delpit undercuts him. Maybe he pumps that. Maybe he's thinking about Myles Garrett, who had a half a sack today. The Malik Collins had 1.5 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Garrett now 1.5 sacks, I believe, behind Reggie White for the most sacks all time before the age of 30. He's got till December to get that. So, knock on wood, you got to feel confident in 95's ability to do that. But just a rough situation for the Packers and against a very good defense where, like you said, if you play that safe, if you play conservative, I think 9 times out of 10 you beat the Browns today.
Yeah, that was one of those throws where it was a bad throw too. That was never going to get there. It should have gone into the dirt and just a groaner of a decision. What did you see? Because, when you look at all the numbers in this game, the advanced stats, it looked like 2 even teams. Yes, the blocks at the end, we'll remember that, though, the blocked field goal and then making the field goal and that interception. But it's not like the Packers were dominating this game. What did you see, Shook, from the Browns defense stopping this Packers offense throughout the day.
Through 3 weeks, the Browns had played almost identical first halves in which they completely shut down the opposing offense and give their offense a chance, and they just don't cash it in. And the only difference this time was that it carried over for 4 quarters, and they were able to cash in because they had such short fields at the end there. That's the main difference, because you're absolutely right. The Packers didn't look like world beaters offensively because the Browns defense has made life trouble for them, just like they have for every team they've played. They also, we talked about Zach Tom leaving that game. Aaron Banks also left that game. They're shuffling multiple guys in the offensive line, and the Browns are taking full advantage and consistently getting after Jordan Love. And I don't think he was comfortable enough by the time they faced that 3rd and 3 to trust that he could pump fake and find somebody else, because he'd been harassed all afternoon. So he just gets the ball out quickly. You can question that call. You can say, why don't you run the ball, keep the clock moving, punt it away to an offense that's not moving the ball. But ultimately, the defense gave them a chance. They played well all season, save for the last quarter and a half in Baltimore, and they put in another stellar performance today. And this is another measuring stick game where it's like, they're going to be good against almost anybody as long as they stay healthy, because they can get after the quarterback. They played pretty sticky coverage. Carson Schwessinger had a great day at linebacker, the rookie. And that's the last story with the Browns today. All their rookies are playing well. Harold Fannin playing well. Quinshon Judkins, Schwessinger, they're all making a difference. So, they're not a great team overall, but that defense gives them a chance every game, and this time they were able to cash it in and win. Yeah,
the Browns fans were booing the hell out of the offense at one point. Joe Flacco was asked about that afterwards. He said, "Look, we're human. I can't lie. I got to admit, that can hurt you if you let it, but you can't. You just have to be a pro and ignore it. You want to do something, but about it, but you just try to put that to the side." You mentioned the rookies. Mason Graham had a big time game in terms of pass rush win rate. Really, everyone winning up front. So I could be eating some crow. I got a lot of tweets about Mason Graham having a nice day, and I looked at the PFF grades for the Packers offensive line. It was across the board disaster. Basically, yep. Whoever the Packers were throwing out there, and some of them were their regular starters like Rasheed Walker, they were getting dominated by this Browns front. Let's just because we haven't had enough Siciliano in our show this year. Let's make up for it. I want to hear that blocked field goal.
33. This is a 43-yard field goal try to give Green Bay the lead. It is blocked! Ball's down to the ground, and Greg Newsome falls on it on the 47 of the Browns! Denzel Ward off the edge, just like I told you. He was so close to it on that extra point. He comes around the edge and gets it right there. Special teams. Defensive turnovers.
Oh, that is awesome, because you almost forget the Packers really had this game almost won at that point. 27 seconds left, lining up for the field goal. They get the block from one of their great veterans there, and Joe Flacco then gets it to James Thrash for 3 yards. They get a neutral zone infraction from Micah Parsons. They hit Njoku for 8 yards, and that sets up the game winner, and a game that probably knocked a lot of people out of their survivor pools this week, including yours truly on this show. Not actually in a pool, but
I'm visibly heartbroken over this, Greg.
No, you're not. You're happy.
Yes.
Everyone's happy. I think the survivor segment just...
It's a better segment when we all pick together.
It's not surviving. Yes, we might have to pick as a group. Shook thought his day was done in terms of exciting blocked field goals, but he was just getting going because he flipped the channel at that point. He had all the screens up, and he went to check out what's happening down in Tampa.
Snap is down. Kick is on the way. Kick is good. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 3-0 for the first time since 2005. It was not easy, but Chase McLaughlin's 5th field goal of the day wins it. 3 straight comebacks.
I was like, who is that? It's a man by the name of TJ Rivas. Gene Deckerhoff was sick today on WFUS, but I'm sure he was watching and enjoying Baker Mayfield doing his thing. This Bucs team is fascinating, Shook. They have tied the NFL record for the lowest scoring margin for any team after 3 weeks that has a 3-0 record, like 6 points. So they're winning just by the skin of their teeth every week. But they're doing it with these last-second drives. Baker Mayfield, the second quarterback in the history of this league to have led 3 straight fourth-quarter game-winning drives in the closing seconds. And they did it after just a lot going on in this game. They found a way.
Another quarterback that we'll talk about later in this show just authored his 4th career game-winning drive. Baker Mayfield has 3, like you said, in the first 3 weeks. That is how fun this team is. They are electric offensively. Watching Baker is just a thrill ride from start to finish. He's making all the plays you want. He's shaking off injury. He's firing passes to Emeka Egbuka, who's making highlight reel grabs. Their defense is playing well. Todd Bowles is blitzing with no regard for any negative outcome. He just doesn't care. He knew the Jets couldn't stop the blitz today. He just sent the blitz all afternoon, and it worked for the majority of the game, but they left the door open. They allowed Will McDonald to block a field goal and return it for a touchdown, and Aaron Glenn with a great celebration on the sideline, and suddenly the Jets are back in it until it's back in Baker's hands, and he goes down and wins the game, and that is why the Buccaneers are my favorite team in the NFL to watch right now. I am concerned about Mike Evans because he did have a hamstring issue and left this game, which showed up in that last drive. You had Baker try to hit a receiver downfield and overshoots him, but he leans on Egbuka. Again, they get into field goal range. But overall, right now, Buccaneers are just an absolute joy to watch, even if you're on the edge of your seat thinking they might not win this one. Just it's been that much fun.
Yeah, think about what they're facing on their offensive line. So if you missed it, Cody Mock, their guard, is out for the season. Luke Gedeke is now on injured reserve. He's going to return at some point. That's their right tackle. Left tackle, Tristan Wirfs, is out. They actually don't have a single offensive lineman as a starter that's playing in its intended position. You're losing Jalen McMillan. You lost Mike Evans late in this game. You had this killer blocked field goal in this game. You went 1 for 5 in the red zone, and you just find a way to win this game. And yet, you got to give the Jets a little bit of love here. They were down 23-6, getting totally dominated in this game. The yardage was absolutely sick. Then Tyrod leads an 80-yard touchdown drive to cut it to a 10-point lead. They give up a field goal drive back. Like the Bucs did a good job. It wasn't their offense collapsing. Tyrod leads another long touchdown drive, 11 plays, but does it in 2.5 minutes. And that sets up a moment, yes, where it looks like the Bucs are going to put the game away, going for a field goal to go up 9. Todd Bowles chooses not to go for it on 4th and short. I think that's a defensible decision, especially with McLaughlin, who's been good over the last few years, although hasn't been great this year, to be fair. And then this is what happened. Maybe the most electric moment other than Jordan Davis in an electric day.
The snap clean, the placement down. The kick, it's blocked. It's loose in midfield. It's scooped up by Will McDonald. There he goes to the 20, 10, 5. That's a Jet touchdown. That's a Jet touchdown. Off of the blocked field goal. We're tied with 1:49 to go. Unbelievable.
Aaron Glenn with the absolute celebration of the year, and I love that. I hope no one gets on him at all for that. He was enjoying life right there. You watched it closely. Shooky, how did this all happen?
Essentially, the offensive problems that plagued the Buccaneers in the red zone became problems in the fourth quarter. But more than anything, it was Tyrod being able to lead this offense that had gone nowhere earlier in the game. His experience suddenly just dotting the field, getting them down the field into scoring range, converting, preserving just enough hope for a play like that to tip the scales. Because, like you just said, if they make that field goal, this game's over. We're not talking about this. It's not an electric finish. But they did the little things right in those moments. Yes, they lost the game, but this is what I kind of talked about in the preseason about the Jets thinking all right, they have an adult in the room now and Aaron Glenn, and they may turn the corner eventually toward a competent franchise that's not always getting in its own way. And it showed for about a quarter and a half in this game. They fought, they battled, they have talent on this team. Will McDonald pulls off what we call the Myles Garrett, which is leaping over the snapper to block the field goal. And it gives them a chance, and it makes us all, I think, respect them more. They're 0-3, but they're they're an 0-3 team that I enjoy watching. The vibes aren't bad with them. They're just losing games closely like this one, and they battled. They absolutely battled against a team that's better than them. But I like the trajectory that they're headed in, even with playing with a backup quarterback.
Yeah, 0-3, you could easily make the case that 2 of those games could have been wins, especially the first one where a special team snafu and a fumble by Xavier Gibson essentially cost them the game. Here, a great play on special teams by Will McDonald, and this was minutes after the other blocked field goals, and so we're coming back from break.
Yes.
And I say into my microphone, it's well, the Bucs got this one, unless, of course, the Jets blocked this field goal and return it for a touchdown. Seconds later, Will McDonald does it. in one of the more proud moments of my career. Of course, it's not on air because we don't record things when I'm not on air because that would be dangerous. People would lose their jobs, especially me. but ultimately,
wait, what do you mean? It wasn't on air?
No.
Oh, okay,
that wasn't on air.
Okay,
we're just I know it sounds like sometimes because Gregg's over there in the newsroom. It may sound like I'm doing the show because it's impossible to tell when I'm not because I'm just weird and yell things. The newsroom is upset.
I mean, compared to Chris Rose, you're nothing. I love Chris Rose, but that guy has got
Rose brings the energy.
Set of pipes at him. But yes, Patrick is taping Game Day Live as this is all happening, and at that moment, it really felt like, man, anything could happen in the NFL right now. Like the NFL is just totally off its rocker, and I liked how positive Aaron Glenn was after this game, loving the fight and trying to spin it positive. On the flip side, though, their success rate running the ball was like 20% in this game. Breece Hall couldn't get anything done. Actually, the Bucs were almost as unsuccessful. Bucky Irving was under 3 yards per carry. So was Rachaad White. Like no one got anything done on the ground in this game. I do think the Jets have some clear shortcomings that are going to bug them all year, but it just goes to show, Shook, there is a big difference between them and the Bucs, a 3-0 team and an 0-3 team, especially with how injured the Bucs are. But like, man, it's just the details. Sometime it's a long way to improve yourself on 0-3. And when you're 3-0 like the Bucs, now you can afford a loss or two here and there while you get healthy because you found a way in these early weeks.
Yeah, the details. I felt like I was a broken record writing up some of these games today because a lot of these games just came down to the details. What team was better at them than not? Usually the teams that have won consistently over the last few years are better in the details, and that proved to be true in this one, and this was not the only game that was true. But I do want to tell you guys this, 2,000 miles away from you, while you're enjoying it in the newsroom in LA, I'm here in my house in Cleveland. My youngest sister lives with me. She comes home. She walks in. She sees the Browns block the field goal. She freaks out. She goes into her bedroom, and then they block the field goal in the Tampa Bay game, and I start screaming, and she's like, what happened? And I'm like, another field goal got blocked. This is insane. It was that type of Sunday.
It really is incredible. Like it was the best witching hour of the season. The NFL, like it took a couple weeks. I feel like we've just been warming up, and it just fully delivered here in a day. By the way, I just got to give a shout out to Yaya Diaby. If you get 11 pressures in one game, you're going to get mentioned on this show. 4 quick pressures, 11 pressures. The amount of quick pressures on Tyrod Taylor today would indicate that his box score was an act of heroism by him because it is, I've never seen it as crooked a number. I'm counting him up here. I think
multiple defensive backs in on this as well.
I think there's 19 or 20 quick pressures, which is under 2.5 seconds. That's what I've never seen a number near that big. So the fact that he even kept them close is a credit to him. And this win is a credit to Baker Mayfield, who noted this game was personal.
I loved it. And it's also their D coordinator was the one that cut me in Carolina. So it was a lot of stuff was personal today. Hassan Reddick, former Jet, a lot of people.
Ooh, a little Baker Mayfield, Steve Wilkes heat that I wasn't expected. Ultimately, that release when he was back with the Panthers and Steve Wilkes was the interim head coach, I don't know if he had personnel decision-making power at the time, although he did bench him for Sam Darnold. That led to Baker's career turning around and getting to the Los Angeles Rams for that game, and everything's been better since.
Yeah, Baker knows to bless the broken road, that led him to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Hassan Reddick's beef with the Jets, far more legitimate. Significantly so.
That was an amazing 3-pack, but we've got more great finishes, more great games after the break. Let's take a look at the teams that I'm going to be watching in person. And I'm going to be helping to announce the game on TalkSport Radio. Steelers and Vikings highlights next.
Rodgers has Warren to his left. Raises the foot, gets the snap. Back to pass, throwing left towards the end zone. Back shoulder, touchdown, Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Calvin Austin in the end zone. Rodgers to Austin. Second touchdown pass of the game for Rodgers. And the Steelers have retaken the lead at the 2:16 mark of the fourth quarter.
Oh, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a lot of dimes on Sunday, but he saved the best for last there. touchdown to Calvin Austin. That was Rob King on WDVE. Steelers go into Foxborough and win 21-14 in a game where the Steelers are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook. It's like the defense full of holes. Patriots moving the ball throughout the day. Aaron Rodgers looking old. A whole 0 for 4 on plays where he was pressured. Didn't get much done after the first couple of drives, but 5 turnovers for the Patriots. Only 1 punt the whole day, and then a turnover on downs on their final drive. A 4th down completion from Drake May to Demario Douglas, where Demario Douglas decided after being 1 yard away, or maybe right at the marker, decides to try to back up to pick up the first down and make someone miss. He admitted after the game if he just kind of dove forward, he very likely gets that first down. And the Patriots, they've been a sloppy team. Both of these teams watching this game are sloppy teams, but the Steelers are a better sloppy team.
Yeah, better sloppy team that in a game that featured an Aaron Rodgers bounce pass fumble to a teammate that the Steelers were able to recover. But the Patriots did recover from not just the 5 turnovers. 2 of those turnovers were inside the 6-yard line. Yeah. One, a Drake May interception, and then one that Ramondre Stevenson ball that got punched out, where there's only so many opportunities you can give an opposing team, and the Patriots gave the Steelers literally every single one today, and the Steelers managed to survive despite having all.
And yeah, it felt like despite giving up all those opportunities, and yes, that Drake May interception comes after a 17-play drive to close out the first half, where they overcame a lot of penalties. Drake May did so much good today. I feel better about Drake May after today, despite the 2 turnovers. But then he takes a huge hit where his head slams against the ground. They show it in slow motion. He holds his head. They never even look at him. I'm not saying that affected the next couple of plays, but he gets hit on the very next play. And then that was a tip pass where he could have arced the ball a little better, but Cam Hayward, who was a monster in this game in key spots, had a forced fumble, deflected that pass, and that led to an interception. And then, yes, Ramondre fumbles on the goal line. He also fumbled earlier in the game. There was a sequence where right after the Ramondre fumble in the second half, they bring in Antonio Gibson. Then he fumbles right away. And yet, they had the ball with a chance to go win the game, take the lead in Steelers territory. And then Drake May fumbled after the pocket closes in on him very quickly. I am curious because I'm a dark fan. I like to embrace the darkness of what it sounded like on Patriots radio when Stevenson fumbled on the goal line. So let's check it out. I have not heard this yet.
Drake May's under center. Hollins to the right. 2 receivers. Diggs in the slot. Goody to the outside. Handoff Stevenson. Tripped up behind the line, but he surges forward with a dive. Ramondre Stevenson is touchdown with the ball loose, and it's a touchback. It is a fumble. The second lost fumble today by the Patriots. Pittsburgh. And Ramondre Stevenson, and the second turnover for the Patriots.
I can't see anything from up here. We need to look at this again. So it's a give up inside.
The 3.
It's out.
Or inside.
He just fumbled
in this
it.
case.
Oh, Scott Zolak. Never want to call the touchdown before you know for sure. It did look like Stevenson scored there.
It's interesting to hear denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance all in the call there. We went through all 5 stages instantly. On the Patriots call.
Yeah, Shook, looking at this Steelers team through 3 weeks, ultimately, they did find a way to win this game. After the first couple drives where Arthur Smith had it all over the Patriots defense and they were just dialing up easy play after easy play, they went for a 4-drive sequence where they gained a total of 6 yards, and Rodgers threw a clunker of an interception. And I thought, okay, they've kind of got them dialed in, but they have found a way here to go 2-0 against the AFC East lesser teams so far.
Yeah, it's really hard to figure out who they are right now because of the way that these 2 games against the AFC East went. And I also take into account the Seattle game because For all the potential of the Steelers offense that we saw in week 1, we also saw the potential for crushing mistakes last week and a little bit of both today, yet they come away, victorious. Like the drive chart for this game for the Steelers, really for both teams, but especially for the Steelers during that stretch, is just gross. Punt, end of half, interception, punt, punt, punt. And it's not until after they get that Drake May fumble that they cash in for another touchdown that decides the game. So it's like, who are they at this point offensively? I feel like Arthur Smith is a better pairing with Aaron Rodgers than what he had at quarterback last year. And yet they, again, details. It's just that in a matchup against a team like the Patriots, who managed to fumble, like, Ramondre Stevenson did on the goal line, you come away victorious. But I think it's going to be a bit of an up and down season for them unless they correct some of these small things. And the other thing that kind of stood out to me, the rate at which they blitzed in this game, considering how good their defense is supposed to be and how much money they spent, they blitzed 20 times. They blitzed 20 times and got a pressure rate of 19. Like, that's a lot of blitzes for a defense that's not supposed to be manufacturing pressure, that should be able to get after the quarterback without blitzing. Now, Cam Hayward had a great game, like you said, but yeah, there are some sneaky holes or weaknesses in this team that they still need to iron out.
It was very confusing because, Nick Herbig had an incredible game, just killing Will Campbell. Will Campbell gave up 7 or 8 pressures. TJ Watt had a ton of pressures in this game and gave Morgan Moses the business. The problem was that the Patriots were going to max protect like a decent amount of times, and it was either all or nothing. They were either getting quick pressure or they weren't getting anything. And like I mentioned, it was a roller coaster game for Drake May. But man, I think Josh McDaniels has done an awesome job through 3 weeks. Maybe it just is comparing him to previous Patriots offenses the last few years, but guys are open. Guys make sense. In an offense that clearly has a number 1 receiver in Hunter Henry, they've been remarkably efficient and had a lot of open plays. And I'm confident now when they're in 3rd and long that like Drake May is going to rip one or he's going to have a good run, which he did today, 7 carries for 45 yards. Like, they overcame a lot of negative situations despite penalties, despite sloppiness. And then on the other side, like I mentioned, they kind of let Rodgers off the hook. He had a fumble overturned by a penalty. The first drive when they scored a touchdown, he skied one out that shouldn't have, they should have had a field goal, but a penalty bailed him out. They benched Alex Austin after another pass interference, bailed out a throw way out of bounds. They've just been sloppy. Their missed tackle rate is the highest that any Patriots team has had in 9 years in this game. And last week, it was like incredibly high. Screens killed them. They've just been undisciplined on both sides. But ultimately, this year is all about Drake May to me. And so I feel good. I'm trying
once again.
I'm just saying. I feel good.
I mean, this is in credit to Drake May, who saw his career yards per carry average actually fall today. He's still ahead of Michael Vick career in terms of yards per carry, and there was multiple times today where he made the Steelers defense look old because they could not catch Drake May, but a lot of people can't because he's one of the best.
Let's go. The Pittsburgh Steelers 2-1, heading over to Dublin. Wanted that game to be as spicy as it could be, and the Vikings they did their part.
Tight end Drew Sample to the right of Jake Browning out of the shotgun, throws a quickie right, caught Noah Fant, his 5th catch. He dropped the ball. Isaiah Rodgers picked it up. No way. He is gone. 2 defensive touchdowns for number 2, Isaiah Rodgers. Well done, young man.
Oh, where were you for the Isaiah Rodgers game? 66-yard fumble return. I wanted to hear like the incredulity in Paul Allen's voice there because it was the 2nd touchdown that Rodgers had of the game. That was on KFAN. Hey, let's not even wait around.
Yeah,
I just want to hear the other call. Let's hear the pick 6 too.
Browning, 2nd and 9 from the Vikings 29, takes the snap, 4-man rush. Jake floats to the left. Now he looks to run to the right. Now he throws, and it's intercepted. Isaiah Rodgers, look out, he's fast. 30, 40, 50, and is loose. Isaiah Rodgers is gone. An 87-yard pick 6 by Isaiah Rodgers.
Love that call. And I also, love the fact that Isaiah Rodgers not only had 2 touchdowns, he had 2 forced fumbles in this game. Outrageous. Vikings win, by the way. Should have mentioned that. 48-10 in Carson Wentz's first start.
And Carson Wentz didn't have to do much because, as you mentioned, the Isaiah Rodgers game that started where Jake Browning is hit as he throws. The ball kind of goes off of Harrison Smith's hands. Also, welcome back. Harrison Smith coming back to this game from injury. Also, Christian Darrisaw returning from injury, playing in this game after tearing his ACL week 8 last season. Actually got the game ball from KOC for his return. Played pretty good in it. But again, Isaiah Rodgers, if you saw that ball get tipped and he goes back for his first career touchdown, you may think, oh, well, it was tipped. Is this really the Isaiah Rodgers game? No. In the Noah Fant fumble, it may look like his teammate smacked Noah Fant. That was after Isaiah Rodgers had already punched the ball up.
Ooh.
Picks the ball up that he forced, the fumble that he forced, takes it back for the touchdown. Later, he punches another ball away from Jamar Chase. And it's just an incredible performance where the Vikings looked like the Brian Flores Minnesota Vikings against an overmatched Cincinnati Bengals team with their backup quarterback, 5 turnovers. For the Bengals.
Oof.
And we'll have a chance to talk about the Colts, but justice for Lou Anarumo. I mean, this was a rough one for Al Golden's squad. And Carson Wentz comes in, starts off the game with a touchdown to Josh Oliver, where Christian Darrisaw had a key block. It may be like undervalued and underdiscussed how much Christian Darrisaw meant down the stretch for the Minnesota Vikings. But if he comes back again, that's not a long time. Like 11 months for the ACL and PCL injury that he had.
Yeah.
Like that, it's a really impressive bounce back for Christian Darrisaw.
Huge for them. I want to stay on the Vikings for a second because it's 48-10. We'll get to the Bengals. It's literally the worst loss in team history. So that's.
Hey, they started 2-0 though, Greg.
I mean, they are 2-1, but the Jake Browning optimism is going away. And you look at this score and you think, okay, well, that's fluky. All these return touchdowns and everything. It was like, okay, Jordan Mason also averaged 7.3 yards per carry. They also just about doubled them up. They did more than double them up in terms of total yardage and almost yards per play. Wentz gets Jefferson involved, and obviously their defense played great, even on top of the 5 turnovers they had. What impressed you about like the Wentz offense? What did he look like to you today?
Well, I don't want to say the game managed situation as though it's a critique, but it's all you can ask for in a game where your defense is scoring touchdowns, right? And you've got an opportunity to come back and play. I thought he had Justin Jefferson on a couple of plays where Jefferson looked very, very explosive after the catch, but the most Jefferson that we saw today was him on the sideline celebrating things that Isaiah Rodgers did. Like this was a game that was so dominant by the defense, where all the offense had to do was go move. Will Reichert hit a 62-yarder right before the half. This was a total domination. Well, I had a chance to see another dominating performance by another team today, but this was against the backup quarterback. The Bengals clearly were overmatched.
Yeah, the numbers shook for the Bengals offense in this game were so rough for most of it. I mean, they stayed that way. Eventually, Jamar Chase finishes with 5 for 50, but I know it's the Vikings defense. Like, what does this make you think about like what this team is going to look like by the time Joe Burrow gets back? If he does get back, we heard today that mid-December would be the hope.
I don't want to sound too extreme, but I think there were signs of this being a possibility in their win over Jacksonville last week, with the way that Jake Browning threw passes into traffic, as if the speed of the game was too much for him, which shouldn't be the case. He's got experience as a starter in place of Joe Burrow, but it just felt like that. And it definitely felt like that today. Your offensive success rate's below 29%. Your quarterback is overwhelmed for most of the game. He's making crushing mistakes. It's not a good outlook. And yes, you're right. It is against a Brian Flores defense, a defense that is traditionally opportunistic, but also a defense that likes to manufacture pressure. They blitzed 12 times. So it wasn't a matter of like, hey, we have to create pressure and get him off his spot and harass him. It just happened naturally. And it concerns me about how they're going to handle, some other competitive opponents. If you go look at their schedule, they play Denver next week, then they play Detroit, then they play Green Bay, then they play Pittsburgh. Oof. If they play like they did today, they'll lose all of those games, and that 2-0 start's not going to matter a whole lot. So hopefully they get these things corrected, because it is only one game, but it's just a bad sign of what could be possible.
Yeah, Brian Flores is a unique challenge, I think, unlike really any other. And so Zach Taylor and Jake Browning together clearly were not up for that challenge. And next week, I'm really excited about being able to see that game live. And we'll be helping on Sky Sports, by the way, too, along with talk. Imagining Aaron Rodgers against this defense is tricky. It is worth noting, like Dallas Turner started this game because Van Ginkel, I think, wasn't 100%. They were rotating him in. Harrison Smith came off the bench in this game, too. So they are at a point with Wentz as their starter that they need their defense to carry them. and that's going to be their recipe. I thought it was very interesting, Patrick, that right after the game, Kevin O'Connell said that Carson Wentz will be the starter next week. They're not even going to kind of like see how much their young quarterback is improving. I'm reading a little into that. Call me a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, JJ is hurt.
He's hurt.
An extra few days in a plane ride is not going to make him.
Okay, if he's hurt, but let's say he's Kirk Cousins from 4 years ago or whatever, and he's a week off of that sprain. I don't think they would be declaring Carson Wentz the starter on Sunday night already. I really don't.
In the event, J.J. McCarthy was multiple-time Pro Bowler and multi-time huge contract receiver Kirk Cousins.
Yeah,
it would probably be different, but Carson Wentz went out there. It got T.J. Hawkinson back involved.
Nice.
Jalen Naylor had 5 targets today.
Bring it back.
Justin Jefferson got 7 targets, 75 yards. Carson Wentz is back, baby. Taking command.
I do love a Carson Wentz redemption story.
As we all know, excited to really go ahead and start to take command.
Let's go.
He's back, baby.
I misspoke earlier this week when I said he was the first quarterback to start for 5 different franchises in 5 straight years. No,
it's wrong.
It was 6. I did not recognize your game, Carson Wentz. Love to have you back in the league. Let's go to Los Angeles, right across the street.
Snap good, hold good, kick is good. Cam Dicker, the kicker, secures victory as the Chargers start the season 3-0, knocking off each of their AFC West division foes in the process.
Oh, what a start to the season for Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. It truly gets no better. Like Matt Money Smith pointed out there on KFI, good job editing, Eric, not letting Daniel Jeremiah into the highlight. Beating your 3 division opponents to start the season is incredible, and they did it, Patrick, in a way that is so opposite of how the Chargers used to handle these late game situations.
Yeah, there was such a sense of aggression, and this is against a Denver defense that was all over Justin Herbert down the stretch. One particular play, Nick Bonito got such a great jump, and Nick Bonito had, I think, 2.5 sacks in this game. I'll go check here in a second. But the second step of Herbert's drop back from the shotgun, Nick Bonito's there. Herbert was able to get the ball away just enough there, but the final moments, what wound up being the game winner, we'll go through everything that went wrong for the Denver Broncos, was Justin Herbert showing just how talented he is, gets away from pressure, is getting hit in the face by Nick Bonito, and has a throw of the year candidate to Keenan Allen for the game-winning touchdown.
Ladd to the left, joined by Keenan. Herbert to throw. They rush 4. Herbert has time. Now he doesn't. Climbs the pocket, and now he's going to use his legs. Throws to the end zone. Caught Keenan. Touchdown! Touchdown! Chargers! Keenan Allen carrying Riley Moss as a backpack. Comes up with the grab, and they're an extra point away from tying this game.
Normal quarterbacks are tackled right there. If you're Justin Herbert, you just shrug it off and throw a touchdown pass.
Oh, DJ was thinking, I can get into NFL Daily if I jump into this fast enough. That is absolutely a throw of the year candidate. The more angles that you see it from, the better it is. Herbert is having a moment right now.
Yeah, he is. And it contrasted where over on the other side, and I call that the game-winning throw. Ultimately, it took another possession and a Bo Nix incompletion deep down the sideline to Cortland Sutton, just off of the outstretched fingertips. And then we go back a couple of other times. Marvin Mims was open deep in the third quarter. Nix overthrew him. And then we go back to the first half. Marvin Mims was open deep, and Bo Nix missed him. So those 3 shots, all resulting in Broncos punts. Eventually, if I'm not mistaken, 2 of them were on third down. 1 of them was on second down, where the Broncos had opportunities to score. Didn't. The last one to Cortland Sutton really kind of stands out to you because he put a whole lot of air under it, and Sutton just could not quite get to it. But you just contrast that with a great quarterback who's playing great, making plays at home. Again, getting his helmet spun all the way around as soon as he releases that ball. And yeah, Good call. Good call on getting Keenan Allen to come back to Los Angeles.
Keenan Allen's kind of changed this team, don't you think, Nick?
Yeah, definitely. And it's really about his role in this, balancing out their receiving core and the distribution that Justin Herbert is able to achieve on a week-by-week basis. Like, if you look at their catches, you got 6 from Quentin Johnson, 7 from Keenan Allen, 6 from Omarion Hampton, 5 from Gadsden, 4 from McConkey, including a big one that sets up the game-winning field goal. Like, he's got so many options. He's in complete control and comfortable, and he's just spreading the ball around the field, and they're moving down the field. And yeah, they didn't put up a ton of points today, and there was a stretch there in the game where you thought maybe they won't get this done. But ultimately, he did. He's found that clutch gene because of the options that are at his disposal. And that's a big reason why they're 3-0. Like, you cannot look at this 3-0 start and say Justin Herbert isn't the linchpin of this offense, isn't the key reason, the Jenga piece of that tower or whatever, that they're having such a good start to the season. He's playing fantastic football, and in the biggest spots like he did today, he comes through in a game that, like you said, in years past, they would have found a way to lose that game. Instead, because of him, they're winning these games.
And you talked about the overall talent of that receiving group. I know Quentin Johnston's having a great season, and folks were like, oh, is Quentin Johnston the one now? Vance Joseph showed you who they believe the one is, because it was the reigning defensive player of the year, Patrick Surtain, one-on-one with Ladd McConkey in that gotta-have-it situation. Ladd got the win. Now, I know, Surtain's playing, coming off that injury. They finished the game last week, but just they're so good in so many different spots. And a rough one is Najee Harris is most likely going to be done for the season. They're doing an MRI. There are concerns it's a Achilles injury, but also, Omarion Hampton finished the game great. Like, the Chargers showed their talent. And also on the sideline, Khalil Mack had the E-stim machine working. You could see the electronic stimulation on his elbow during the game. They're committed, Greg. They are committed. The Chargers are 3-0.
That is wild. Really sad, about Najee Harris. You could see the disappointment in his face as he was carted off the field in that game. Hampton finishes with 129 yards, and the offensive line, it sounds like, didn't play as well, and that's what great quarterbacks do. In time, Bo Nix could be a quarterback that elevates rather than just kind of goes along with what his surroundings are. But right now, I feel like he is more of a product of the team. Not that he didn't, make some plays today, but they've just haven't been consistent. They've been consistently bad in these one-score games. Sean Payton's record in one-score games with the Broncos is brutal, especially since the start of last year. But you pick up 9 first downs in a game where the Chargers had 29. I mean, that's a Jim Harbaugh stat if I ever saw one. They somehow scraped out 29 first downs and only 376 yards. But that is a Jim Harbaugh station-to-station offense. And I love how Shook just throwing Gadsden in there. That's a Rondé Gadsden Jr. I don't believe he had a catch before today. I'm not sure if he's been active for games, right? But he suddenly just pops in there and goes 6 for 59, and they could use a little bit of a tight end threat too. So that's nice for them.
Yeah. The talent disparity in previous years has been against the Chargers, where it's been a top heavy roster. And now you see the way that they're filled out, especially on the defensive side of the ball, with so many guys making plays. They did this without Khalil Mack, as we mentioned, where you want to fall back to history and say, like, oh, it's the Chargers, but no, this is a very good football team that is in first place, and maybe, first place for a while.
Long way to go, but a couple games up in the division is not a bad place to be after 3 weeks. Let's go to another team that's 3-0. They played in San Francisco, but I'm not giving away who won the game because it was an undefeated matchup here between the Cardinals and the 49ers.
This will be a 35-yard try for Pinheiro. It's down. The kick is on the way. And it is good! Eddie Pinheiro wins it for the 49ers.
What a game under the circumstances. Kyle Shanahan in this mash unit of players with all the injuries, and you could say it on both sides of the ball. My God, is that inspiring.
Another game-winning field goal, 16-15. Another season full of 49ers injuries. Why does this keep happening? And another good call there by Guy Haberman and Tim Ryan on KSFO. Eddie Pinheiro from 35 yards out. He not only hits it, he lets you know afterwards that he's that dude. You don't talk about Eddie Pinheiro because that's what'll happen to you. 16-15, 49ers 3-0. Shooky, tell me what mattered the most in this game.
Well, first off, it was a rock fight. If you like low-scoring games with some mistakes and some just the lack of overall offense and the lack of fireworks that you'd like to see from some games, then you'd enjoy this one. It was a classic divisional battle between two teams that know each other very well and two teams that couldn't get out of their own way in certain stretches, and they kind of mirrored each other for most of this game. It was 6-3 at halftime. It was 13-13 early in the fourth quarter. A safety because of a holding penalty in the end zone gives the Cardinals a 2-point lead, but of course they can't ice it. The third down incompletion gives the ball back to the Niners. They go down the field, kick the game-winning field goal. Mac Jones battling through a knee injury. They get stopped in a turnover on downs on the goal line because Mac Wilson's playing with his hair on fire and decks Christian McCaffrey right when the ball arrives. There was just a little bit of everything in this game. Mac throws a terrible pick, and they still somehow bounce back, and then he leads that game-winning drive. That's the quarterback I mentioned, by the way. Fourth career game-winning drive, Mac Jones. There's a fun little stat for you. He got the job done for the 49ers today.
That's undefeated starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, Mac Jones. And you know what? He's probably going to get to sit on that. And I'm a man who roots for healthy players for the rest of the season because Brock Purdy, according to reports, has a very good chance, is really expected to return next week. And so Mac Jones did his job as a backup. I thought it was a legacy drive scenario. Now, of course, if Kyler Murray can actually move the ball when they get the ball back after the safety, then Mac Jones never gets a chance.
If the Arizona Cardinals had caught the balls that Kyler Murray through the air, this would be a completely different game. There was a drop by Marvin Harrison Jr., albeit you could say he was going to score a touchdown. Fred Warner, as Fred Warner does, was screaming down the field. He might have caught him because Kyler got hit as he threw, and so Harrison was coming back to the ball. And then the most egregious one was in the red zone. Amari DiMarcardo had a walk-in touchdown that he dropped. And the last one was Zay Jones. Glad Zay Jones is back in the NFL. But there was a play that got broken up by the 49ers that could have given the Cardinals a chance to extend the game and kneel the ball out, where I've been watching this Cardinals offense and begging for some layups. But every single layup the Cardinals got today, they absolutely smoked at the rim. And it felt like a touch, Greg. Now, I'm not saying not to take anything away from the gutsy effort from Mac Jones.
How dare you?
Eddie Pinheiro, who for some reason hates the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know what was going on in the celebration. I spent 15 minutes trying to look up if there was a player on a coaching staff.
He's just fired
or something. He's pointing at the field like, this is where we play. It's like, dog, you just got there. Like, you had to use Google Maps to get to the stadium. Like, you have not been there for that long. But ultimately, a touch of a donation from the Arizona Cardinals with the opportunities that were presented.
It's hilarious because the first person who's coming up to Pinheiro is Kendrick Bourne, who's familiar with how to get to the stadium, but has also only been there a couple weeks and has caught key third downs in each one of these games. Man, Shook, like this was an all McCaffrey and Ricky Pearsall offense. It looked like for the 49ers. They're playing on Thursday night. They have some injuries to worry about. I'm a little worried about the fact that McCaffrey had 27 touches in this game and is going to have a quick turnaround.
Yeah, and he's had a lot of touches through the first 3 weeks because they've just lacked, healthy talent around them. Ricky Pearsall has done a great job as the de facto number one, by the way. It's his second game of 100-plus receiving yards in his first 3 weeks of his second season. Remember, this is a guy whose career was, the start was interrupted by getting shot before the start of the season, and now look at the season he's starting to put together for them. He's making clutch grabs. He had an incredible catch on a 4th and 2 ball. Mac Jones lays it up there down the sideline for him, snags it over a defender, keeps his feet in bounds. That sets up the touchdown pass to Kyle Juszczyk, which is a big moment in this game. He's just playing really well for a guy who still doesn't have a ton of experience in such a prominent role. And it opens up opportunities for guys like Kendrick Bourne on that last drive to make a couple of key catches. But you're right. The crux of this offense is Christian McCaffrey, a guy who finishes with 10 catches for 88 yards, also runs 17 times for 52 yards. He is the engine behind this offense just because they don't have a lot of other options, especially with George Kittle out. So I worry about that too. Durability over the course of a long season. But We haven't since week 1 heard about health, and that's an encouraging sign. Until we hear about health, I'm just going to say continue doing it, maybe manage the reps a little bit more as you get further into the season, but it's what they have to do right now, and they are winning these close games. They're 3-0 for a reason.
They got to manage them better. They got to manage them better. They got Brian Robinson. This is not sustainable. They're doing 25 to 30 plus touches every week, especially when you got a Thursday night. It's a problem, and we alluded to the injuries. So Nick Bosa left this game. After the game, they said they'll get an MRI. At first, Kyle Shanahan said they didn't think it was an ACL, but they can't rule anything out. So he'll get an MRI. And then James Conner on the other side, unfortunately, had an ankle injury that did not look good. And we'll await the word on that. But it could be Trey Benson's backfield for the Cardinals. They haven't been as consistent running the ball. I know Kyler scrambled. Their success rate on their passing plays today was really low. And yeah, you mentioned, Fred Warner. I mean, he was just flying around. He's been everywhere. Bryce Huff is helping out this defense. D. Winters is helping out this defense. And ultimately, they held the Cardinals to 260 yards. Big win for them. Every single team in the NFC West has a winning record. And yet with these two teams, especially Cardinals, 49ers, I'm still not really sure what they were. But it's early. We don't really know anything. We think we know something. We don't know anything. Let's take a break and let's come back to another division, which is a lot different than we expected going into the season.
.27 seconds. Jags 17, Texans 10, 27 seconds to play. 3rd and 1, Texans from the 28 of Jacksonville. Shotgun formation. Collins now on the near side, dropping a C.J. Stroud. Oof. He gets hit as he let it go. The ball's floating up there. The ball is picked off. The Jags, I believe it, picked it off. The Jags have picked it off. The Jags have picked it off. They take over at their own 4-yard line.
What a wild, exciting call from Frank Frangie on WGXL. C.J. Stroud, in another frustrating performance, was intercepted on a play where you can't blame him. You have to give the credit to Josh Hines-Allen. That is why you pay that man all that money. He beat the rookie, Arante Ursary, who we've talked about quite a bit on this show, around the edge. So fast, gets his paw out, deflects it, and then a great diving interception to cap off a great day for the Jaguars defense. 17-10.
A game-saving play by Josh Hines-Allen because Christian Kirk, playing against his old team, did win, and they did hold him. He's calling for the flag, but Christian Kirk, the defender, none of them could see the fact that Josh Hines-Allen got his hand on that ball, causing it to fluff up there. Is actually the second pick that C.J. Stroud threw on the day that was intended for Christian Kirk in a game that down the stretch, it was very 2025 Houston Texans and kind of 2025 Jacksonville Jaguars, if you look the way that they made the donation to the Bengals last week. Both C.J. Stroud and Trevor Lawrence had some fourth quarter turnovers. With the Jags, had Nico Collins running through the secondary, trying to get bonus yards, able to force a fumble there, gave them a bonus possession that they took advantage of in the fourth quarter to go ahead, where Trevor Lawrence hit Brian Thomas Jr. for 46 yards after the quote-unquote good conversations he had with Liam Cohen this week, so good on everybody in Duval. And then I can't tell if the Houston Texans let Travis Etienne score.
They did.
On the go-ahead touch.
Sure.
It was very easy looking.
For sure.
Touchdown from about 4 yards out.
And Etienne, right when he scored, was like, shoot, should I have done that? But that's on the Jaguars coaches for not talking about it. If they wanted to. They had a situation where they could have gotten it very close to the end and kicked the field goal.
Yeah, and considering Jags history, go ahead and get into the end zone. And you're playing against a Texans team that's seen almost everything that could go wrong in terms of the results. They've managed to get out of some of these games healthy, but it's just a familiar refrain for the Houston Texans to see the way that the game ended. And your Hunter snap watch, He had 79 total snaps.
I don't want to talk about it right now.
No.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, Travis Hunter snap watch, 79 total snaps, played a majority of the offensive and defensive snaps, truly going both ways, had 1 catch for 21 yards. There are those out there who's like, oh, he's giving up receptions. I think Travis Hunter played just fine. He's a two-way player. He makes contributions on both sides of the ball. Third game, give him some time.
Yeah, I'm not worried. It hasn't been a great first 3 weeks. I want to see the cornerback snaps, especially. I am worried about his impact as a wide receiver early this season. He clearly isn't a consistent part of the offense. Neither is Brian Thomas Jr., at least in terms of being effective. For a lot of this game, everyone is just wondering, is he in his own head? Whether it's drops, it's running the wrong routes, it's him not even really getting open, the numbers are showing. And you would hope that catch to basically win the game, where he hit the fastest miles per hour that any wide receiver has on a play this year, just leaves him feeling better, and that he is able to play with a little more confidence. They'll need him. De'Ami Brown got hurt in this game, and Parker Washington can't be leading them in targets every week. He did today, though, and it worked. This defense shook against the Texans. Like, this Jaguars defense, I think, is for real. I think this team in general is for real, at least in terms of being a team that can compete with most any team. And I just think they're going to matter all season. I think they're just going to be in the mix. They certainly are here at 2-1. And they really put the Texans in a spot at 0-3, looking up at 2 teams in the division that they have not really had under D'Amico Ryans.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from the Jaguars, but because they obviously, have to create the problems that they created for, a play like the last play that we just heard, the interception. You have to get that pressure and everything else. That's an achievement on your part. But I think that some of this story is also just a reflection of how bad of a state the Texans are currently in offensively. Like they scored 10 points. They had less than 300 yards. And it's just a game against a quarterback that completed just 50% of his passes, and Trevor Lawrence, who finished 20 for 40. Ugh. And you can't capitalize on that. That's a product of your defense being good and your offense just being miles behind. So yeah, I think you're right. The Jags are going to be in the mix. I think that they'll play spoiler, but they're also in a division that is pretty wide open. I mean, the Colts obviously on a hot start. We know what the Titans are. We don't know that the Texans can be good, other than the fact that they have a strong defense because they're 0-3. So the Jags are in the mix, but this feels like a classic AFC South game where it's close because they're familiar. We don't really learn a lot other than our previous opinions potentially being reinforced in the first month of the season. And I feel like more of those were reinforced with the Texans and their struggles than the Jags, but a good win for them, of course.
Right. This is why I think it's good to check success rate, because I look at Chubb and Woody Marks' numbers, and they split the carries pretty evenly today, and it looks fine. They had a design success rate on their runs of 13%. I mean, that is an offensive line that can't do anything. It can't pass protect, it can't pick up stunts, and it certainly can't run block either. And it's a really big test of 2 guys I really believe in, C.J. Stroud and D'Amico Ryans, moving forward, because they're in a spot they just never expected to be in. And they found ways to lose 3 games against 3 good teams, but they found ways to lose them all at the end. That's going to be tough to recover from, especially when you got a juggernaut in your own division, a juggernaut led by Daniel Dimes.
Daniel Jones under center, I formation. Tyler Warren is the H-back. They give it to Taylor right up the gut. Big hole, 40. Cuts back to his right. Spinning upfield, still going. Slips out of a tackle. He's at the 20. He's at the 10. He's at the 5. Touchdown! Jonathan Taylor rips it from 46 yards out. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. Yes, sir.
It was tough to pick a highlight from this game because the Colts, they're so watchable. That's the thing that gets me. I was about to call them the best team in the NFL.
Why not,
coming into this?
Why not, Greg? Do it.
Well, I don't believe that they are the best team in the NFL in terms of, if you play on a neutral field, who do I think is better? But who has played football at the highest level in the year 2025? I think they have the best resume. Their offense is just absolutely ridiculous. And you can say, oh, it's the opponents. It's Tennessee. It's Miami. Hey, how about they did it against the freaking Broncos a week ago? And then today their defense gets into the mix too, 41-20. It's not all just about the schedule. It's about the playmakers on this team. Michael Pittman running over guys. Alec Pierce on a day where, unfortunately, he got checked for a concussion. His head slams on what, almost was a great long catch. He still adds, 4 catches for 67 yards. Tyler Warren's in the mix. Shane Steichen is in his bag. He is the coach of the year through 3 weeks, no doubt. The opening script with this throwback play that they had to downs down the field, just beautiful. It's a lot of first reads for Daniel Jones. He looks better in the pocket than I would expect, getting away from pressure. And then more than anything, Jonathan Taylor is just freaking amazing right now. He's just awesome. So you add that all up, and their offense, Shooky, is a juggernaut, and the defense, whatever. It's good enough. It's good enough to get out to these big leads and then just hold on and beat the Titans very easily on the road.
Yeah, this was one of the least surprising results. Not because the Titans are terrible. I mean, we know that they have struggles, but because the Colts are the perfect team to win a game like this handily, because of what you just said and because of offensive balance. That has been the defining trait of this team through 3 weeks. They have been able to do it on the ground. They've been able to do it through the air with Daniel Jones. He's comfortable. He's not facing immense pressure because teams have to respect Jonathan Taylor. It makes them a tough team to defend. And you got Shane Steichen at the controls cooking everything up. I agree. I think he is a leader for coach of the year right now because this is what the Colts envisioned when they hired him as a former play caller, as elevating him to the head coach role. And it felt like he just needed the quarterback. He needed the quarterback who could handle the operation. Daniel Jones is handling the operation really well through 3 weeks, and he's spreading the ball around. Tyler Warren being a part of this offense is huge, I think, because it gives them the option outside of receiver that they've lacked in recent years. But it all starts with Jonathan Taylor. And by the way, that touchdown run, I think in the last 2 weeks, we've gotten 2 of the runs of the year.
Yes.
Last week from James Cook in New York, this week from Jonathan Taylor in Tennessee. So we're on a roll right now, baby.
Yeah, I was bemoaning the lack of layups for the Arizona Cardinals. It feels like Dimes just gets all the layups, especially when you consider how versatile this team is, because I know we talk about Tyler Warren doing everything. On the Jonathan Taylor run, Tyler Warren was lined up in the backfield at fullback. And so you get your all-world rookie tight end who's willing to make plays in the blocking game as well. It's
made a great block.
Yeah, this isn't some give up, run in there and kind of get in the way like sometimes we do for backup offensive linemen or defensive linemen like on the goal line. No, Tyler Warren had a great block in the hole for Jonathan Taylor to spring him there, and they can just get you so many different ways that it feels like, it's Shane Steichen at the buffet. Is picking and choosing how he wants to attack you. It's all led by Dimes. And I am sorry. I will pin an official letter to Daniel Jones because I'm like, you don't get to use Alec Pierce taking the top off the defense. No, there's a bomb to Alec Pierce every single game, and I hope he's all right because it's fun to watch right now.
It's crazy. And the game did start with a big Cam Ward mistake where he threw a pick six to Kenny Moore, one of the best slot corners in the league, whose mom was at the game. So it was cool that he brings the football to his mom. Great moment for one of the best, veteran, just real dudes in the league, Kenny Moore. Yeah, maybe a candidate for Unk of the Week, although Tony Jefferson's back in the mix once again. Cam Ward, though, was under so much pressure in this game against a team that hasn't had a lot of pressure this year. Kwity Paye had a nice game. Tyquan Lewis had a good game. And I'm trying to figure out, is Cam Ward inviting the pressure, or is the pressure just happening because of a bad offensive line? And it's definitely both, but a lot of quick pressure on him today too. And I got to say, by the end of the game, I was impressed again with Cam Ward's performance. There were a lot of jaw-dropping throws. He had a 27-yard rip to Calvin Ridley. He had another throw across his body. I think it was to Ayo Manor again. Okonkwo had a solid game. Calvin Ridley dropped about 3 to 4 passes, depending on how generous you want to be. So they put up 20 points in this game. It absolutely could have been more. Ridley's having a bit of a nightmare season right now, and they're not getting anything done on the ground. So I think Callahan is facing some heat in Tennessee. People wondering, what is it that you are adding to the mix? Because you're supposed to be an offensive line guy. And just some of the decision-making from Brian Callahan, to me, has been suspect. He goes a couple times early in this game, lining up for these long, 64, 63-yard field goals from Joey Sly, who misses them both. And it sets up the Colts on these short fields. In one case, right at the end of the half, where it set up the Colts for a field goal. And shout out to NFL Daily listener Amanda Balionis for asking a good, tough question to Callahan coming off the field about those decisions. Too often we hear like, oh, you don't get anything out of these sideline interviews, especially, now they've added the ones coming off at halftime. But that was great. I like to hear a good strategic question. And I think Titans fans were asking those sorts of questions because this team really hasn't been overly competitive through a couple weeks. They also lost T'Vondre Sweat, by the way, to injured reserve. I hate these late week injured reserve ads that it just slips through the cracks of the show. So I just wanted to say T'Vondre Sweat, they already weren't in good shape. Dre Greenlaw, by the way, is now on injured reserve for the Broncos. Hasn't played at all this year. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, T'Vondre Sweat definitely would have helped in this situation going up against Jonathan Taylor, who's the engine of the offense. But going back and looking at Cam Ward and the way he played, and again, it's another loss, and I understand. He made that was his first career interception, the pick six by Kenny Moore. In these hitch routes, he was 7 of 7. The plays to the sideline, 8 of 9 total, where you see the arm strength and the decision making. The flat route, of course, got picked by a veteran who caught him slipping there. But still a lot to feel positive about. But I'm with you on the things not to feel positive about for the Tennessee.
Yeah, that was just a case of him being a little too slow to get to his check down, I think, on the pick six, and a veteran really being able to read it. But overall, man, the Indianapolis Colts are one of the stories of the season, undefeated. Let's go to the Chicago Bears, who entering today was one of the stories of the season for worse reasons.
Caleb in the gun, to right, to left, takes the snap, looking, scanning, now running right, gonna throw back in the end zone, middle, DJ Moore, touchdown, touchdown Bears, that's 4, baby, 4 Caleb Williams touchdowns. I've done more high fives in my career from Bears fans today. Bears up 30-14.
That wound up being the final score with an extra point added, 31-14. The Bears win. That's Jeff Joniak, and I could watch that failed celebration from Alameda Zacchaeus with DJ Moore again and again. He just goes flying through the screen, expecting something to happen.
I don't know what he wanted to happen.
Well, supposedly they had something planned where maybe Moore was going to jump up with him, and Moore just was laughing and was clearly not on the same page. Great job by our producers, Eric Roberts and Chris Babona, just showing this thing on a loop. That kind of day. And I wanted to make that the highlight, not just because this is happening again and again.
It's funnier every time.
It reminds me of that pick six where Andy Dalton flew through the screen. Do you remember on a Monday Night Football after a pick? And you're just like, where did he come from? I wanted to show that because, Shook, it was shocking how open Bears receivers were in this game. And Caleb Williams deserves credit for buying a little extra time in that play. And I thought he used his legs very well today. And he got 298 yards on 28, reception and 28 attempts. But man, Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and the Bears receivers did such a great job just creating so much space today. And it was a revenge on what Matt Eberflus did to the Bears fans for a few years.
Yeah. Every time I had this on a second screen, and every time I looked over, I just see a Cowboys player throwing their helmet on the sideline. They're just that frustrated with how they performed defensively. How do you have time for guys to get open and for Caleb to buy another second or a half a second when your pressure rate lands at 25%? How do you get there? You lack effective guys that can get after the quarterback. That is the story of the Cowboys defense so far.
Yes.
We should not be surprised. This is a team that gave up a ton of points to the Giants last week. They're going to give up a ton of points to the Bears. Are the Cowboys the get-right team for every offense in the NFL? We don't know that yet, but they've been that type of team for the last 2 weeks, and it's a perfect time for the Bears, who desperately needed this, to really kind of give their fans a bit of evidence of the Ben Johnson offense and how it can work when they're not under constant duress. And then when you have a flea flicker that goes to Luther Burden for a touchdown and a play like that to DJ Moore that seals up a fantastic day for them, you just feel better about this team given what they've gone through in the 2 previous weeks. So good day for them. Maybe a preview of what's to come. And Caleb getting to show off the arm a little bit is always good for his reputation.
Yeah, Rome Odunze opens up the scoring, first drive of the game. Trevon Diggs slips on the route, wide open for the touchdown. You mentioned the Burden play. I'm going to go ahead and say it. it's a throw of the year candidate. Just want it to be considered.
Yeah. And Caleb under center drags Kmet into the backfield. He'll line up as a fullback for DeAndre Swift from the 35-yard line. One safety back deep. Here's the pitch to Swift. Tosses it back to Caleb Williams. Looking deep down the left side. Going for Luther. Burning over the shoulder. 20, 10, 5, end zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears. Ben's bag of tricks, baby. That's number one. Ben's bag of tricks. Fans are going berserk. They loved it.
Yeah, the bag of tricks. Well, going up against Matt Eberflus's 2025 Dallas Cowboys defense, the bag runneth over with opportunities there. And I owe an apology to Gregg Rosenthal, who had the number for this game. It's 67 points, and they didn't get there. But I think the reason why was the injury by Noah Sewell making a tackle on CeeDee Lamb really limited the Cowboys' opportunities to get involved in the score fest here in this one. But even if they did, just the allowance, I guess, of this Cowboys secondary of opportunities it's a little too bountiful. But again, another solid performance by Dak Prescott. We saw that this Cowboys offense without CeeDee Lamb does take a little bit of a drop back. But he loaded up Ferguson with targets. One of those reasons that one helmet was being slammed on the ground was George Pickens had a ball go out of his hands that was ultimately intercepted, and he was frustrated about that. But a frustrating game for the Dallas Cowboys is there might be a few more of the season.
Yeah, I can't believe that going into this game, Dak had the lowest yards per attempt of his career, and it's going to bump up a little after this game, but not a ton. You got to watch to see how well he is actually playing in this game. Yeah, the 2 interceptions were off of a drop, and then we're off of a 4th down desperation throw at the goal line where Dak was right to just throw something up because he was under pressure. That gets picked too. They did move the ball quite well all day. They actually outgained the Bears in this game, but they just couldn't make it happen. And without CeeDee Lamb, this offense is a little DOA. They just don't have enough. I mean, they could be better than some of the offenses in the league, but not enough to remotely keep up with this defense. I misspoke earlier when I said that Rome Odunze, made that catch on the first drive of the game. It was the first Bears drive of the game, but the game started with the Cowboys running the ball down the Bears' throat, and Javonte Williams, who looks like a man possessed, he was incredible today. 10 carries for 76 yards, just crushing some people on some of these runs, had the ball ripped out of his hands by Tyreek Stevenson. And that really set the tone for a Bears defense that it wasn't pretty, but they just need to be opportunistic, make a few plays. And that was an awesome individual play from Stevenson, who made a couple, also deflected a pass, and Montez Sweat made a couple plays. And ultimately they were pretty good in the red zone. They forced 4 Cowboys turnovers. Joe Milton played in this game. We had some surprising quarterbacks play today. Max Brosner played today for the Vikings. We haven't gotten to the Falcons, but we have a surprising quarterback appearance in that game too. This Cowboys team is 1-2 now. Both of these teams are 1-2. We'll see where they go, but it was a really necessary bounce back performance by the Bears. I think Shook hit the number one and most important point here. The Cowboys pass rush is a big problem. Ezra hasn't looked great. I thought this group was going to be one of the most dynamic in the league. As one of my preseason takes that is the most wrong. Now, I thought Micah Parsons was part of it, but I thought the rest of the talent was so good behind Parsons that the whole group was going to be amazing. But I think we're learning that Micah Parsons is such a force multiplier that, man, everyone looks worse, including his teammates on the defensive line when he's not there. All right, before we go, a lot of talk about Caleb and Ben Johnson's relationship. Let's listen to Ben Johnson after the game.
2 of the game balls went to Caleb. I'm looking at his numbers, 142.6 passer rating and 4 touchdowns. I thought he was really good. And the thing that you don't see on the stat sheet is he's getting a lot more comfortable calling those plays in the huddle. We were able to get out of the huddle a little bit faster, and we were able to get on the line and operate a little bit cleaner as well. So was proud of him for that.
It is noteworthy, because I do think that's something they struggled with early in the season. I think they're still trying to figure out how to get DJ Moore more involved. He looked frustrated at one point after making a catch. Never seen a guy look so unhappy after making a first down. So not everything's perfect, but man, everything will taste better. Life will be better in Chicago after a Bears win. Let's go to our nation's capital, where, dare I say it, the best backup quarterback in the league resides.
In motion, Chris Moore. Here's the snap, handoff right up the middle. That's Jeremy McNichols bouncing off the 3 Raiders. Breaks into the free. 40, 35, 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Unbelievable touchdown run. Touchdown. Touchdown, Washington. Jeremy McNichols broke through the Raiders' D.
Oh, it's our old friend, Bram Weinstein. WBIG, Jeremy McNichols with a 60-yard touchdown run. It was a game full of big plays. You had McNichols. You had a punt return touchdown. We'll listen to that in just a second by Jalen Lane. You had a big-time reception to Terry McLaurin. Unfortunately left the game with an injury. I think from that play, 56-yard catch and run where he nearly scored. He even had Luke McCaffrey get into the mix, got behind the defense on a busted play for 43 yards late when the Raiders were making it a little more interesting, 41-24. I came up with the hot take, Shook, that Mariota could be the best backup in the league. And I just mean in this system. I'm just really confident when he gets out there, he can run this system, and he goes for almost 10 yards per attempt, and they keep his attempts right down at 21 so that he doesn't have to do too much. That's a perfect recipe for the Commanders.
Yeah, I was hoping, when you're listing all the accomplishments made by the Commanders in this game, that you would tie it all together with the mention of Marcus freaking Mariota leading a team that finishes with 41 points on a Sunday. And I'm glad you did. But yeah, I totally agree. He's an experienced backup quarterback who has seen it all and can handle this system very well, has the tools and the skill set that kind of mirrors Jaden Daniels in some ways. He gets a 2-yard rushing touchdown today, for example. He still has the threat to run. You can run a read option with him if you wanted to. Mm-hmm. It fits well. And even when because we've talked about how this receiving core felt a little thin after they lost guys like Olamide Zaccheaus and other guys in the offseason. And yet on a day like today, the mention of McCaffrey getting involved, I think is important because Mariota is where it all starts, and he's able to distribute the football while keeping his attempts low enough. Obviously, it helps you with the big plays. When you have a number of different running backs combined for, like 150 rushing yards, that also helps too. But I think you'd be in a much worse place if you had a lesser backup. So totally on board with you on that. And I hate to pivot it this way, but at 1-2 now, the Raiders are starting to concern me. We knew they were kind of maybe got worse on defense in the offseason, and a game like this raises a couple eyebrows that maybe things aren't going to turn around very quickly.
Yeah, you could call it a great run by Jeremy McNichols for that 60-yarder. You could also say the Raiders exhibited some very poor tackling on that play. And I remember back when they initially made the kickoff change, the first thing I thought was Deebo Samuel. A player like Deebo Samuel can make a huge play, and that's how the game started, was with the kickoff return from Deebo Samuel where, maybe a few years back, Deebo was celebrating in the end zone on that. He got caught, but that's what put the Commanders in that position to get that early score with Marcus Mariota there. Mariota had a great run in this game. He had the ball punched out, so it didn't quite make it into everybody's memory, but he showed the explosiveness a little bit there.
He was moving.
Yeah, he had a good clip. I'll have to check Next Gen Stats to see what Marcus, how much speed he gathered on that. But ultimately, a game where it was never really in question, and still had some scary moment for Michael Mayer and the Raiders offense as Brock Bowers still looks to be a little slowed from that knee injury, and he's such a significant part of it. But the real winner down the stretch was just fantasy points in garbage time, because the Commanders, once they got up, decided covering Trey Tucker was not something that they needed to worry about. He's your wide receiver 1 this week. It's not even close.
It's outrageous. Trey Tucker goes 8 for 145 and 3. And now, to be fair, he looked good in the first half of this game too. He was getting open. I said it this season. I love the way he snaps off his routes. He is so fast. That kind of speed and that kind of route running, Geno Smith, I think, is going to love throwing to him. And on one hand, it felt like garbage time. It started out as 10-10, late in the second quarter. Then the Commanders go on a run and get it all the way to 34-10. But there was a possession there, before that McCaffrey play where it felt like the Raiders are almost back in this game. You just never know. Ultimately, watching the game, the biggest difference in these two teams was the line play in terms of the defensive lines, especially. Washington's absolutely dominated. And Las Vegas was just fine. Max Crosby did his thing, but otherwise Mariota had time, and the running success rate was pretty good for Washington throughout the course of the game. Bobby Wagner, ton of pressure. in this game as a blitzer. He's really turned himself into a good blitzer. Deron Payne, ton of pressure in this game. Dorrance Armstrong, ton of pressure. And so there's the pressure on Geno Smith, who I thought played pretty well despite it. Even early in the game when they weren't moving the ball, he looked scrambled and harried, but he was avoiding negative plays and hitting some plays when he needed to. He ends up with 289 yards and 3 touchdowns, a lot of that in garbage time. But even before that, his yards per attempt were pretty good. The problem was his offensive line stinks, and it stinks for Ashton Jeanty too. For the season, Ashton Jeanty is still getting contacted on average behind the line of scrimmage. He has negative yards before contact for the season. That is outrageous. I get it that you'd like to see him make people miss a little bit more and be a little more explosive, but he is running over guys a decent amount. He is breaking tackles. The offensive line, to me, is the problem, and they were not particularly competitive, as you mentioned, for the second straight week. It's concerning.
Yeah, you'd like to get Ashton Jeanty in space, but I can see where the thought that he's going to be contacted before he even gets the ball maybe starting to play a role in how he actually performs, where the blocking was better for him from Boise State in situations where you could say Boise was overmatched.
Right.
They
look like Boise State. I wish they were as creative as Boise State. Where's it at, Chip Kelly? I don't know. This Raider seems frustrating. Shout out to Dan Quinn, by the way, who took an absolute shot from Marcus Mariota on one of his scrambles, got knocked backwards. They should have been checking him in the concussion protocol because it looked like it hurt and that he was seeing stars when his head slammed back. But his face is bloody and he's on the sideline, and never did a coach get more credit from his players in the locker room from being one of them dudes. And no one has ever questioned the toughness of backwards hat wearing Dan Quinn. So this to me was a signature Dan Quinn moment. And anytime you can win with a 40 burger going away with your backup quarterback in, that means you're doing something right as an organization. Let's take one last quick break. We'll come back with a few blowouts and Sunday Night Football.
Penix out of the gun here on 2nd down and 8 from the 16. Powell Pitts motions to the right. Penix the snap, looking right, now checks down left. Oh, yeah! Intercepted by Damani Richardson, who walks it in for a touchdown. Now Shaw Smith-Wade. Shaw Smith-Wade, the nickel, read the screen, picked it up after a little juggle, and it's a walk-in touchdown.
Ooh, Shaw Smith-Wade with the pick six. Very similar play to the Cam Ward interception earlier. Michael Penix late, going back to his check down in the flat. Good anticipation, part of a balanced Carolina Panthers 30-0 victory. What? I say, like, what happened?
Yeah, literally, watching this was just watching this disaster unfold for the Atlanta Falcons a week after a big defensive win over the Minnesota Vikings, where the ground game takes over, and you're playing against the Carolina Panthers team that has been very, historically bad against the run, but for 2 straight weeks now, the opponent has not been able to hold true to the run game against the Carolina Panthers. It was 10-0 when Shaw Smith-Wade jumps in front of that pass that Michael Penix throws to Bijan Robinson a little bit late in the flat. Close to his own end zone for the pick six, but he was 2 of 8 for 26 yards when pressured today, which matches the blitz numbers. He was 3 of 8 against the blitz for 13 yards, where you're watching a game where Bryce Young didn't really have to do too much. 16 completions, 121 yards. It's like we said coming into the year, just take care of the ball, let this historically good Panthers defense get you wins. But that's what happened today, consistently making plays, and maybe Ejiro Evero and this defensive unit have figured something out, or the Falcons were just so bad that Kirk Cousins is coming in at the end of this divisional game to finish things out, where it was just a Sunday to forget in Atlanta.
Yeah, Raheem Morris confirmed afterwards, that's just because it's a blowout. Let's make sure Michael Penix stays healthy and that he will be starting next week. No controversy there. I'm not surprised that they asked it, but a lot of decisions weren't working out for the Falcons. They cut Younghoe Koo, and John Parker Romo comes in, misses 2 kicks early in this game, just establishes some bad vibes. I know the numbers weren't great for Bryce Young or the Panthers offense in general, but I do feel like just thinking about that third down reception where Tetairoa McMillan just skies up to just pluck the ball away from the Falcons secondary. They were without A.J. Terrell. It's more important than almost any takeaway from these first 3 weeks for the Panthers. Like, they did it. They finally drafted the right receiver. They got a dude, not just like, hey, he's going to be pretty good in the NFL, but a number one receiver dude. I feel confident in that after 3 weeks.
Yeah, the opening score for the Panthers saw a crucial third down where it was before that play. I believe you're talking about the pass in the flat that was elevated over the defender, and T-Mac goes up and makes the grab, where it's a 26-yard gain, and he absolutely just loses the defender up the sideline. A great route, great catch, great finish, got some run after the catch, where you can see what he brings, and clear number one. Like, there's no question. He's their number one, and you can make a case. He, and as well as Ibuka in Tampa Bay, that they could be going back and forth for this Rookie of the Year conversation.
Every once in a while, just a name will pop up in the show, and it'll make me feel bad about what happened earlier in the show. Like, we didn't make up nearly a big enough of a deal about Ibuka in this game.
The one-handed catch down the sideline?
I mean, 6 for 85. Like, Mike Evans is out in this game hurt, and you find your own number one. So, yeah, the NFC South has found a couple dudes, and I was surprised to get this text. Friend of the show, my friend Mike Berkowitz, who's helped us out over the years, helped out the program, just killing Michael Penix, saying just in a week where I said he looked like a veteran, like beyond his years, a delay a game on a 3rd and short. They kind of ran out of clock at the end of the first half. That can be on the quarterback. That can be on the coaching staff. Just a couple of clunkers of misses. He has been inaccurate at time. And then that pick 6. So he takes a step back. It's funny how the season works out too, because like if this had been week 1, just the vibes would be so different with these two teams. But in the end, beware the moral victory. The Falcons did lose that week 1 game to the Bucs in the end, even though they outplayed them. And the Panthers, they just beat them down. These two teams are both 1-2. They're both 2 games now behind the Buccaneers, and the Falcons defense, which got a lot of love this week, on paper did their job, but not well enough. Let's go to another blowout. But before we do, I do have to point out that was Jordan's survivor pick, the Atlanta Falcons. Now, Jordan, I was moving on to the next game. I know Jordan is a loyal listener when she's not on the show. Even when she is on the show, she's just a pro. I wasn't even going to mention it, but Eric said to mention it. You feel bad because she's listening right now. What would you like to say?
I don't. I'm just going with continuity. You brought up yours.
Okay.
So I figured we have to bring up hers.
I don't know which is worse, losing on an 11 or 12-point favorite like I did with the Packers, or losing your survivor pick 30-0. They're both pretty shameful.
I don't think there's any shame involved. You guys put your heart and soul. As you said, I was demeaned for not taking things seriously, perhaps, and taking the Dolphins in week 1. And you guys who were taking it so seriously lasted 2 more weeks.
There is some salt in the wound in both of these picks because you pointed out that Jordan flipped on her beloved Panthers in the preview episode. And
true.
Patrick gave you an out because you forgot your pick.
Yeah.
Brought it up during the Colts game. And he said, you picking the Colts? And you said, I will do no such thing. And went back to pick against the Browns again.
You know what was
all these words in my
Eric's
head.
got all kinds of receipts, Greg.
You know what was the more obvious pick?
Just search a transcript.
Because you should always go for home teams. I mean, why not? It's a survivor pool. Go for home teams. The obvious pick was playing out in the Northwest.
Kroger during warm-ups, and he had a couple of rainmakers, and here's one. This is a long, high spiral. Horton back at his own 5. Gets 1 block, gets 2 blocks, turns upfield, got some running room across the 30, 35. He may go 40. 1 a block. Midfield 40, 30, 20, 15, 10, 5. Mr. Horton. Touchdown. Seahawks. Unbelievable blocks. Great run by the rookie. 95 yards.
Oh, Steve Rabel on KIRO. I thought he was going to say, Mr. Horton, here's a house call or something like that. Yep. What a first quarter for this Seattle Seahawks special teams, really the entire teams, but the special teams alone had that punt return touchdown, also had a punt block, also had Sam Darnold playing at a very high level. They were up 21-0 within about 11 minutes of this game starting. They were up 35-3 midway through the second quarter. Shooky, you just don't see beatdowns this decisive, this fast in the NFL too often.
Yeah, if you blinked, you missed the first 3 touchdowns. I mean, that's how quickly that the Seahawks were in complete control of this game, and it just kind of snowballed from there. This was a great example of, I think, the vision of what the Seahawks had in their minds when they made their change at quarterback this offseason, and also how certain matchups can't be a measuring stick, because I don't think you're going to look at this win over the Saints and be like, the Seahawks are a juggernaut. But everything that they envisioned with getting Sam Darnold and changing their offense and kind of building it around his strengths came true in this game. He was great on the rollout. He threw a beautiful touchdown pass. It was timing. It was trust to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and they were in the red zone, but the way that he rolled out to his left and found him was just, it was beautiful stuff. It's stuff that you picture you want your Sam Darnold offense to look like. But it's also the Torrey Horton day. We had the Isaiah Rodgers day in Minnesota. It's Torrey Horton day in Seattle, because not only did he have that punt return touchdown, he caught a touchdown too. So a great day for him and the Seahawks, a dominant performance. And if you're the Saints, you get back on that flight across the country and you think we got a lot of things to figure out right now.
Yeah, it's funny because I didn't think the Saints offense even played that poorly in the first half. They actually were up in time of possession 22 minutes to 7. And part of that is just the Seahawks are scoring so quickly and on special teams. But the offense was moving the ball. It was just one of those days if your special teams plays that bad. Shooky mentions Horton, by the way, who played about the same number of snaps as Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith and Jigba. So that's interesting to me, and got more targets than Kupp in this game, who's coming off a good game and had a couple nice grabs in this one. They can be a complete team. They're able to run the ball. Darnold was efficient. I think they made a couple nice catches on Darnold's throws that weren't perfectly accurate. He had some that were amazing. He averages, way over 10 yards per attempt, and the defense is just full of beasts.
Yeah, it was kind of the recipe of the very aggressive deep passing attack that we saw from Sam Darnold last year with the Minnesota Vikings, and you wonder how much Mike Mack was going to let him be that aggressive. Well, the governor was off in this one against the Saints, considering the way things started, where one of the things I'll remember about that Torrey Horton return is Chaz Surratt got that huge block, and he's throwing his arms up to celebrate a touchdown. They're at the 40-yard line.
Yeah.
That thing was over from the onset there, and we saw how explosive Horton could be in the passing game. I just go back, because it's 14 of 18, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns, almost a perfect passer rating. If Sam Darnold is going to be that efficient, watch out. And again, it was against the Saints, but I mean, if you want to play transitive property football, if you're a college football fan and it's this team beat that team, and it's we can't do that here. You got to win every single game.
No, they also weren't easy throws. The 45-yard throw to JSN was incredible.
Yeah, on the money.
Down the field. You mentioned the touchdown pass too. So he gets all the credit in the world. I'll continue to say that this Saints defense has been worse than I expected, and the Saints offense has been better on balance than I expected, but obviously not good enough today. Kellen Moore with some curious decisions. I just haven't loved his game management at times this season. He went for a 53-yard field goal late in the first half on 4th and 2 when they were down, I believe, 35-3 or 28-3 at the time, and he missed it. He got punished. And then he did kick the field goal from 23 yards out to end the first half to make it 38-6. You know what we call both of those?
What? Sad field goals.
That was one of the saddest field goals I've ever seen. The one at the end of the first half.
I actually thought the first attempt was even more egregious because it was a long attempt from a relatively shaky kicker lately, and you're on 4th and 2 and you're down by 5 touchdowns. Just play some football. But you're right. At the end of the half, it was sad. They asked him after the game about it, and his response was, "We just wanted some points." Well, yeah, thanks. We know you wanted some points. Gotta go and feeling positive when it's 38-6.
By the way, that's the answer for every coach. If you're going to ask why they kicked yes, obviously you would like the 3 points, coach. We want to know what played into the decision to try to get the 3 points there, as opposed to doing something else, which is like scoring a touchdown when you're getting blown out on the road.
And it's a small pick to nit, but you could have brought Tyler Shuck into this game earlier, and I think get the rookie some time. It's 44-6. And you're not bringing in the rookie. He does end up coming in.
Drew Lock was in the game way before Tyler Shuck was.
Right. And Spencer Rattler, I thought, played like he's played this season pretty well, all things considered. but bring in Shuck and just give him a fourth quarter or even a little more. He ends up going 0 for 2 in limited duty. The Seahawks, they're frisky. They're interesting. They're 2-1. They're on Thursday Night Football against the 49ers. We're going to say goodbye to Patrick right here, but we're not taking a break.
No.
We're going right to another primetime game in the Meadowlands.
Twist in the middle by the Giants. Backing up is Mahomes. Now launching long again on the left side. The pass is going to be caught. It's caught at the 1-yard line. An incredible catch by Tyquan Thornton. If you don't do it the first time for 34 and a touchdown, you do it the next time for 33 yards at the 1-yard line. Oh my goodness, what a catch by Tyquan Thornton. His hands outstretched, with Drew Phillips all over him.
Oh, it's a different Kansas City Chiefs offense when Tyquan Thornton feels like the linchpin to all of it. That was Mitch Holtis on KFNZ FM. And yes, this was a Sunday night game without a ton of amazing highlights, to the point that we actually chose a catch that wasn't even a touchdown. 22-9, the Kansas City Chiefs get off the schneid. They are 1-2. And yes, Nick, that was a beautiful throw. He's rolling out, throwing it across his body. An even better catch by Tyquan Thornton. And when his arm went up, behind the Giants defenders, I thought, that's the best first down signal I've ever seen. Tyquan Thornton ends up with 5 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. And the Chiefs get out of a game that felt like it was week 16, 17, and everyone was getting fired. And yet it was week 3, 22-9. The Giants are 0-3. Let's start kind of with the Chiefs taking a while to get going in this game. Did this make you feel any differently about this Chiefs group?
No, all the promise of the explosive plays and everything, I think we left that behind in week 1 when Xavier Worthy got knocked out. And I think that we've collectively accepted that this is what the Chiefs look like offensively, that they're not going to be a super flashy team and that they are going to try to push the ball down the field, but you don't know if it's actually going to work or not. But ultimately, they're going to do the things correctly that they need to do to beat a team like the New York Giants on the road. And I know the Giants just gave up a ton of points to the Cowboys last week, but I have respect for what they bring to the table in their front seven, and I felt as if it might give the Chiefs a bit of a challenge. So this is about what I expected, including the way the game ended.
Right. It ended with, first of all, we should point out the Chiefs played well after halftime on offense. It was just an ugly first half, 9-6 at halftime, with the Chiefs getting a late field goal. Really, the game turned around. The play of the game was amazingly a Patrick Mahomes fumble / Patrick Mahomes forced fumble. It will go down in the box score as a fumble. He throws a backwards pass. He realizes it. He runs after the play and he gets the ball right back. It was an amazing, athletic play by Patrick Mahomes and heads up, and just, I can't believe that it actually happened. If the Giants were going to win this game, it was holding on to the ball in that moment. It was a backwards pass to Pacheco there. Bobby Okereke picks it up for a half of a second, and then Mahomes swipes it away. They end up getting 3 points at the end of the half with this crazy pass interference call, and then played much better on offense after halftime. But it was one of those types of games, Shook, where it still just made you uneven. The connection to Travis Kelce is so weird. There was the play with the triple pump fake where Mahomes just throws it into the dirt. They're trying to hit him deep. That's not working. Juju Smith-Schuster is just too involved. They just cannot wait until Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy are back in the field. And they needed to get this win because they have some tough games coming up with Baltimore. They have an at Jacksonville and a Detroit coming up. All 3 of those are challenging, and they had to get this one. You mentioned how the game ended. I think you're alluding to the Russell Wilson RedZone fun. Was that the last that we see of Russell Wilson? Because, man, this performance was ugly from him.
Yeah, you want to talk about ugly. I think that it was uglier on the Giants side. And, yeah, it felt pretty strongly like we were watching the final minutes of Russell Wilson as Giants starting quarterback, which is hilarious because a week ago we were lauding him for a career day against the Dallas Cowboys and going over 400 yards and all that magic. But this is the reminder of who he really is in this Giants offense. They're limited. They once again ran into issues in the red zone. It frustrated their fans so much that they were just raining boos down on them after every play. Russ throws it away on second down and gets an intentional grounding. He essentially throws it away on fourth and kind of to goal with the game on the line, like it's their last ditch. And it just kind of explains who they are with him at quarterback. And you could hear the cheers from the fans every time Jackson Dart came in as like a runner, as a quarterback who was just going to run some sort of option look, and how displeased they were when Russ replaced him. It's just like you could feel the tide turning toward it. And I understand why. I thought Chris Collinsworth did a really good job of explaining why they bring Dart in to run and what he brings to the table as opposed to Russell Wilson. And he kind of diagrammed it with George Karlaftis playing the edge. And he was like, when Dart's in there, he has to stay home because Dart's liable to run outside, keep the ball, and take off the outside. And then like 3 plays later, they try to run the same thing with Russ, and Karlaftis swallows it up because he doesn't have to respect Russ because Russ doesn't bring that to the table. And if Brian Dable is going to save his job and maximize the potential of his offense, it's not going to be with Russell Wilson. And I think we're real close to a change.
Yeah, I think he's got to play next week. People are like, oh, you can't play him against the Chargers. You got to play him at some point. They play the Saints the following week. Like, why are we just trying to time it? I think he's going to play next week. We're taping this immediately after the game, so we're not sure what Brian Dable is going to say in the post-game press conference. I don't think he's going to be thrilled. Cam Scatterbu had an amazing game. Cam Scatterbu led the team in rushing and receiving. 60 yards rushing, 61 yards receiving on 16 touches overall with a touchdown and a backflip and a lot of missed tackles. But if the whole offense is Cam Scatterbu, that's not the greatest sign in the world. Malik Neighbors didn't have a catch until late in the game. Tyrone Tracy had an injury in this game. They did get Andrew Thomas back, which I really think is going to help at left tackle, but he was on a snap count, so he was not out there in the second half, and it is a bummer. Yeah, you mentioned that sequence at the end, just throwing balls out of the end zone and stumbling on an RPO that clearly Jackson Dart would be better suited for. It's kind of a bummer of a way to go out. This isn't a moment for the Chiefs where it feels like everything is solved, but they outcoached them, and Chris Jones and the defense ultimately has played pretty well in back-to-back weeks. So they are just happy to get out of there with a W. Chiefs at 2-1, or rather 1-2, whereas the Giants now at 0-3. That is it for our Sunday night Week 3 recap. We will be back on Monday night. Yes, me and my little buddy, Nick Shook, who's really not so little. I'm sorry if this thing starts to stick because
no, it's already stuck.
We keep hearing
I'm your little buddy
about the little buddy. But this is our Monday night show where we're on live after YouTube, and it won't be nearly as late as it was, of course, last week when we had the doubleheader, and it's a banger of a game, Lions and Ravens. So join us. It's fun in the chat, and we'll have the recap right after the show. Man, it's going to be a big week. I'm getting ready. We're going to Dublin, but there's still a lot to break down with the rest of this week 3, and we still got the game of the week coming. We'll see you Monday night.